Arnold Schwarzenegger's son just got ripped apart by fellow bodybuilders after a win his critics were already calling fake. You'd think the legend of Arnold Schwarzenegger would naturally echo through his son, but with the way critics have gone after Joseph Baena since he won multiple titles at the 2026 NPC Natural Colorado State Championships, and then followed it up by becoming the NBA Iron Gladiator Classic Physique Champion, that thought has started to flicker a little. In his very first competitive outings, instead of applause, what met him was a wave of sharp comparisons, harsh breakdowns, and the kind of scrutiny usually reserved for seasoned pros, not someone stepping onto a bodybuilding stage for the first time. The criticism came quickly and loudly. Some voices in the bodybuilding space didn't just question his placing, they questioned whether he even belonged on stage at all. One particularly blunt assessment described his physique as underwhelming, going as far as saying he didn't look like he worked out and that his appearance embarrassed his father's legacy. The core of the backlash circled around expectation. Being Arnold's son turned what should have been a beginner's introduction into a measuring stick against one of the greatest physiques the sport has ever seen. Critics leaned heavily on the idea that if the name Schwarzenegger is attached, the physique should arrive fully formed, polished, and dominant from day one. But others pushed back against that logic, pointing out that bodybuilding does not work like inheritance. Muscle is not passed down like a surname. That is where supporters began to speak up, and they did not hold back. Bodybuilding veteran Lee Priest became one of the loudest voices defending Baena. He dismissed the criticism outright, calling out those tearing him down and bluntly telling them to shut the f*** up. His stance was clear. Many of the loudest critics, in his view, had never stepped on stage themselves, yet were quick to judge someone who had the courage to do so publicly. Priest also addressed the unavoidable comparisons, explaining that no one will ever be Arnold again, just as no one replaces icons like Ronnie Coleman or Sergio Oliva. Expecting that level from Baena, especially this early, was unrealistic from the start. Behind all of this noise sat the actual results, which told a much steadier story. At the 2026 NPC Natural Colorado State Championships in Denver, Baena placed in the top 2 across every division he entered. He won gold in men's open bodybuilding heavyweight, men's classic physique true novice, and men's classic physique novice. He also secured a runner-up finish in men's classic physique open class C. For a first-time competitor, those results placed him firmly among the strongest performers on stage that day. Then, just 1 week later, he returned to competition at the NBA Iron Gladiator event in California. This was only his second show ever, yet he walked away as the classic physique champion and earned his pro card. On stage, he posed with a sword and shield, marking the win with a visual that felt almost symbolic, like someone stepping into a new arena rather than inheriting an old throne. His journey to that stage had not been instant either. He started lifting seriously during his junior year of college, after growing up as what he described as the chubby kid among his peers. Before bodybuilding, he had struggled with weight, even getting cut from sports teams because he couldn't keep up. Swimming became his entry point into fitness, and from there, weight training slowly reshaped his body and direction. Over time, that transformation led him toward the stage, not as a continuation of his father's career, but as a personal challenge he chose to take on. Training alongside Arnold added another layer to the story, but even that came with pressure. At Gold's Gym Venice Beach, the same place where Arnold built his legacy, Baena trained under his father's guidance. Still, the shadow of that legacy remained. Baena himself acknowledged how intimidating it can be to follow someone so accomplished. The comparisons were expected, but that did not make them easier. Every flex, every pose, every placing was going to be viewed through that lens whether he liked it or not. Yet his approach, at least in these early stages, seemed focused less on matching that legacy and more on building something of his own, one competition at a time.